The sets are still there. The magic is still there. These are the stories behind 15 of the most beloved movie locations that you can actually visit today. Places that appeared on screen to define childhoods, first dates, and family movie nights, and that are still standing, still recognizable, still carrying the specific emotional weight of the films that made them famous. From the New Zealand hillside that became the most visited film location in the world, to the Chicago garage where Ferris Bueller destroyed a Ferrari, to the Scottish Highland that doubles as the backdrop of a Pixar masterpiece. These are the places where nostalgia has a physical address, and where walking through the frame feels like stepping directly into memory. The house at 4 Privet Drive in the real world is a semi-detached home at 12 Picket Post Close in the village of Martin's Heron in Bracknell, Berkshire, England. It is an ordinary 1980s suburban house on an ordinary suburban street, built as part of a housing development and chosen by Warner Brothers Locations and Scouts in 2000, precisely because it looked like the most aggressively ordinary house in England, which is exactly what the Dursleys' home needed to be. The exterior was used for all 8 Harry Potter films over a decade of production, dressed with different props and plants to suggest seasonal change, while the surrounding houses remained entirely residential. The family living there during filming received modest location fees and became quietly accustomed to film crews arriving periodically to transform their front garden. When the productions concluded, the house returned to being simply a house. Today, Potterheads from around the world make the pilgrimage to Martin's Heron, a journey that requires real commitment, since it is not near any of the other major Harry Potter filming locations, and arrive to find a real family's real home on a real street where nothing cinematic appears to be happening. The owners have varied over the years in their willingness to engage with visitors, ranging from tolerant to visibly exhausted. Warner Brothers Studio Tour in Watford, opened in 2012, contains a full replica of the Dursleys' interior, which the actual Privet Drive house never was. The interiors were always built on set. The outside is Bracknell. It looks exactly like the films. It also looks exactly like 1,000 other houses on 1,000 other streets in the English commuter belt, which is the entire point. The Bean Farm in Petaluma, California, at 5402 Old Adobe Road, served as the exterior of the Mosley family home in Babe, the 1995 film about a sheep pig that became one of the most unexpectedly beloved children's films of the decade. And that was produced almost entirely in New South Wales, Australia. The establishing wide shots of the farm's white buildings, weather vane, and surrounding green hills were filmed in Petaluma, because the California countryside matched the film's deliberately vague pastoral setting. The Australian production required a California exterior because Petaluma's rolling hills and white fencing conveyed a kind of idealized farmyard that real Australian farms did not always provide. The farm at Old Adobe Road is still a working agricultural property. It is not signposted, not formally open to visitors, and not affiliated with Universal Pictures or the production in any official capacity. Despite this, farming families from across America who watched Babe with their children in 1995 have spent the subsequent 3 decades driving out to look at the fence and the buildings and the hills, experiencing a form of emotional recognition that is entirely disproportionate to what they are actually looking at, which is a working Northern California farm where nobody is expecting them. The exterior of Bueller's house, the Fry family home in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, is a real house at 4160 Country Club Drive in Long Beach, California, which John Hughes used for exterior shots in 1986. The famous house in the film, the one with the glass-walled garage suspended over a hillside where Cameron's father's Ferrari meets its end, is a different property entirely. A modernist house at 370 Beach Street in Highland Park, Illinois, designed by architect A. James Spire in 1953 as a private residence. The garage over the ravine structure, where Cameron Fry destroys his father's 1961 Ferrari 250 GT California. one of the most cathartic acts of automotive destruction in cinema history. Was a real building at the time of filming and is a real building today, though it has been extensively renovated by subsequent owners. The Highland Park House is private, but visitors can see the exterior from the road. The ravine is still there. The trees are taller. Ferris Bueller's Day Off was filmed almost entirely on location in Chicago and its suburbs in the summer of 1985, and the Chicago locations, the Art Institute, the baseball game at Wrigley Field, the Von Steuben Day Parade on Dearborn Street, are all still accessible and entirely recognizable, making the film one of the most comprehensively visitable in the John Hughes catalog. The Bodega Bay Harbor in Sonoma County, California, appears twice on this list because it earns the distinction, first for the birds in a previous entry, and again here for what the harbor looks like today relative to 1962. The Tides Restaurant, which appears in several of the film's most pivotal scenes and was used almost entirely, as is by Hitchcock, still operates at 835 Highway 1 in Bodega Bay. The building has been renovated and expanded several times since 1962. The version you see today is larger than what appears in the film, but the location, the view, the specific way the harbor opens out beyond the windows, is immediately and unmistakably recognizable to anyone who has seen the film. The restaurant keeps an extensive collection of Hitchcock memorabilia and production photographs on its walls, and the servers are accustomed to being asked to point out exactly where Tippi Hedren sat. The harbor itself, the fishing boats, the wheeling seagulls over the water. None of that has changed in any meaningful way. Visitors who sit at a window table on a gray morning when the fog is coming in report a specific unease that the restaurant has learned to treat as a selling point rather than a liability. Hobbiton, the film set constructed in the Waikato farmland at Matamata on New Zealand's North Island for Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy, beginning in 1999, is the single most successful film location tourism operation in the world by most available metrics. Jackson's location scouts identified the Alexander family sheep farm in 1998 after an aerial survey, and the New Zealand Army helped prepare the site, leveling roads, planting gardens, constructing the 44 hobbit holes that would populate the Shire. After the original trilogy finished filming in 2000, the sets were dismantled per the original agreement. Then, The Fellowship of the Ring opened in 2001 to global phenomenon status, and the demand to visit the Shire became immediate and overwhelming. When Jackson returned to New Zealand to film the Hobbit trilogy beginning in 2011, Hobbiton was rebuilt, this time in permanent materials rather than temporary construction, with real planted gardens allowed to grow and mature. The current Hobbiton movie set tour operates year-round on the Alexander family's still-functioning sheep farm. Approximately 500,000 people visit per year. Tour packages include a meal at the Green Dragon Inn, a fully operational pub built as part of the set, serving ales brewed specifically for the experience. The hobbit holes are built at 2/3 scale, so most adult visitors cannot enter them. But the gardens, the round doors, the hill with Bag End at its summit, all of it is exactly as it appears in 6 films made across 2 decades. New Zealand's tourism board estimates that the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit films generated approximately $8.9 billion in tourism revenue for the country. The high school used as Shermer High School in multiple John Hughes films of the 1980s, including The Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, and Weird Science, was Maine North High School in Des Plaines, Illinois, a real school that had been closed by the state in 1981 due to budget cuts, which is precisely why Hughes was able to use it. The building was available because it was empty. The Breakfast Club was filmed almost entirely inside Maine North in the summer of 1984. The library, where the detention takes place, the corridors, the principal's office, all genuine school spaces in a genuine school building in suburban Illinois. The school has since been converted into a satellite facility for the Des Plaines city government and is not open for public tours. The exterior, however, is entirely accessible and entirely recognizable. The same brick, the same entrance, the same institutional geometry that framed the arrival of 5 teenagers on a Saturday morning in February 1984. Hughes named his fictional suburb of Chicago Shermer, Illinois, a name borrowed from the real Shermer Road in Northbrook, where he grew up. And the high school set in an empty building in Des Plaines became the physical center of a mythology that defined American adolescence for an entire generation. The house at 115 South Tucker Drive in Pontiac, Michigan served as the exterior of the McAllister family home in Home Alone, a 4-bedroom colonial on a quiet suburban street that became one of the most recognizable houses in American cinema when Macaulay Culkin defended it against Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern across the 1990 Christmas season. The film was shot primarily in the Chicago area, and the house in Winnetka, Illinois, at 671 Lincoln Avenue, was used as the principal filming location, not Pontiac. The Winnetka house is the one that fans visit. And they visit it in enormous numbers, particularly in the weeks before Christmas, when the current owners have been known to decorate it in ways that acknowledge its cinematic legacy. The house sold in 2012 for $1.585 million, and again subsequently. The neighborhood is residential and quiet. The concrete steps where Kevin McAllister crouches crips to watch his family leave without him are the same concrete steps. The driveway where the moving van parks is the same driveway. The tree in the front yard is larger now. Trees grow, even fictional ones, but the house is otherwise preserved by its own fame, maintained by owners who understand what they bought. The fishing village of Port Merion in North Wales, designed and built between 1925 and 1975 by architect Clough Williams Ellis as a deliberate exercise in Italian coastal village aesthetics transplanted to the Welsh coast, served as the village in the 1967 British television series The Prisoner, one of the most beloved and philosophically dense pieces of television ever made. Patrick McGowan's unnamed Number 6 wakes in this Italianate fantasy village on the Dwirid estuary and cannot escape it. And the dissonance between the village's postcard prettiness and its function as a prison was the visual and thematic engine of the entire series. Port Merion was already a tourist attraction before filming. Williams Ellis built it partly as a demonstration that architecture could enhance rather than damage a natural landscape, and partly as a hotel and tourism destination. The series made it internationally famous. Today, Port Merion operates as a hotel, a self-catering cottage village, and a day visit attraction that welcomes approximately 250,000 visitors per year. The specific locations used in The Prisoner, the piazza, the pool, the outlook over the estuary, are all intact and recognizable. An annual Prisoner fan convention called the Unmutuals holds its gatherings at Port Merion, which means that once a year, designed to look like somewhere else, fills with people performing their devotion to a television show about the impossibility of escape, which has a quality of irony that Williams Ellis, a man with a deep sense of humor about architecture, would likely have appreciated. The Griffith Observatory in Los Angeles, perched on the southern slope of Mount Hollywood in Griffith Park, overlooking the city, has appeared in so many films that isolating the single most significant is genuinely difficult. But the 1955 James Dean film Rebel Without a Cause claimed it most completely, using the observatory's exterior, its grounds, and the planetarium sequence as the backdrop for the most famous juvenile delinquent story in American cinema. The observatory was built in 1935 and given to the city of Los Angeles by mining tycoon Griffith J. Griffith, who specified that it should be free and accessible to all citizens, a condition that has been honored ever since. Admission remains free. The observatory closed for a major renovation between 2002 and 2006, reopening with expanded underground facilities while maintaining the exterior almost exactly as it appeared when Dean filmed there. A bronze bust of James Dean's was installed on the grounds in 1988 and has been photographed by millions of visitors since. the view from the observatory's terrace, the same view that appears behind Dean and Natalie Wood and Sal Mineo in their most iconic frames, encompasses the entire Los Angeles basin and, on clear days, extends to the Pacific Ocean. It is one of the great city views in America, free, open every day except Monday, and carrying 50 years of accumulated cinematic memory in every direction you look. The Courthouse Square in Sonora, California at Washington Street, served as the primary exterior location for Back to the Future in 1985, standing in for the fictional Hill Valley Town Square that Marty McFly and Doc Brown returned to in 1955. The clock tower, the theater marquee, the surrounding storefronts, all were dressed by the production design team to represent the same location in two different decades, making the square one of the great cinematic exercises in temporal doubling. The actual filming location was the Universal Studios backlot rather than Sonora, but the design was inspired by real California town squares. The Universal backlot Courthouse Square was used for the 1955 sequences and has been used in dozens of other productions. It is one of the most filmed exterior sets in studio history. However, it was significantly damaged in the 2008 Universal Studios fire, which destroyed several backlot structures. The clock tower set survived in altered form and has been rebuilt and maintained for subsequent use. Visitors to the Universal Studios Hollywood theme park can see a version of the Hill Valley Town Square, though its relationship to what appeared in the original film is complicated by decades of modification, damage, and reconstruction. The town of Petaluma, California, which appears in several establishing shots in the first film, contains streets that still look remarkably like the Hill Valley that Robert Zemeckis constructed around them. The beach at Bamberg in Northumberland, England, a wide stretch of North Sea coastline in the shadow of Bamberg Castle, served as the exterior location for the 1981 film Excalibur, John Boorman's operatic Arthurian epic, and more recently as one of several filming locations for the BBC series Merlin. The castle itself, one of the largest inhabited castles in England with origins in the 6th century, has appeared in dozens of productions and is available for tours year-round. What makes Bamberg specific rather than generically medieval is the particular relationship between the castle, the beach, and the North Sea horizon. A relationship that Boorman used to give his Camelot the feeling of a kingdom genuinely at the edge of the known world. Visitors arriving at Bamberg Beach on overcast autumn days, when the light comes in flat and gray off the water and the castle rises behind them, report that the experience requires no imaginative effort to feel cinematic. The landscape does the work entirely by itself. This is why location scouts found it and why audiences recognized it. It looks the way medieval myth feels, before any camera is involved. The town of Gothland, in the North York Moors National Park in Yorkshire, England, served as the village of Hogsmeade in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Specifically, the Gothland Railway Station, a preserved Victorian station on the North Yorkshire Moors Railway, which became Hogsmeade Station in the film's arrival sequence. The village itself, a cluster of stone houses around a wide green where sheep wander freely across the main road, also appeared as the fictional village of Aidensfield in the long-running British television series Heartbeat, giving it a double layer of nostalgic television and cinematic recognition that the local tourism economy has embraced thoroughly. The railway station is operational. The North Yorkshire Moors Railway runs steam trains between Pickering and Whitby, passing through Gothland, and visitors can ride the same platform where Harry Potter first arrived in the wizarding world. The village has a Harry Potter gift shop, a Heartbeat gift shop, and approximately 600 permanent residents who have learned to coexist with what the village's official tourism materials describe as significant visitor interest. The sheep remain indifferent. The lagoon on the island of Kauai in Hawaii that served as the primary filming location for Raiders of the Lost Ark in 1980 is Hulea National Wildlife Refuge, a protected wetland that is not accessible by land, but that can be approached by kayak or guided boat tour. The opening sequence of Raiders, in which Indiana Jones flees the Vitos tribe through the jungle of a South American temple, was filmed on the Hulea River and its surrounding rainforest, which Steven Spielberg and cinematographer Douglas Slocum used because it was the most convincing jungle available for a production that needed to convey dense tropical menace. The refuge is administered by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and is home to several endangered Hawaiian bird species. Kayak tours operated by local companies regularly take visitors into the refuge, and the guides point out the specific riverbanks and tree lines that appear in the film's opening minutes. The rainforest looks identical to its 1980 appearance. Rainforests, unlike film sets, do not age in ways that cameras can detect. Visitors paddling through the Hulea River on a bright Kauai morning, matching the landscape around to a sequence they have watched dozens of times, report the specific pleasure of cinematic recognition applied to a living ecosystem. The understanding that what Spielberg films were not constructed but found, which makes the scene and the river feels simultaneously more magical and more real. The diner at 11 Railroad Street in Wellfleet, Massachusetts, a small Cape Cod town, served as the primary location for Rob Reiner's Stand By Me in 1986, standing in for the fictional Castle Rock, Oregon, where four boys set out to find a dead body in the film's 1959 setting. Wellfleet's Main Street was dressed by the production to represent mid-century small-town Oregon and proved convincing enough that audiences and critics alike accepted the geography without question. The actual filming location for the majority of the film was Brownsville, Oregon, a small town in the Willamette Valley that leaned so enthusiastically into the production that it has maintained the connection for nearly 40 years. The Stand By Me Bridge, the train trestle crossing where the boys outrun the train in the film's most viscerally terrifying sequence, was a real railway bridge in Brownsville that was subsequently removed when the rail line was decommissioned. The bridge is gone. In its place, Brownsville erected a replica footbridge in a park near the original location as a memorial to the film, which means the most famous bridge in a movie about finding something lost has itself been lost and replaced with a monument to its own absence. Brownsville also operates a Stand By Me museum, holds an annual Stand By Me Day, and has painted murals across its downtown depicting the film's four principal actors as children. Castle Rock is real. It is in Oregon. It is a small town that chose its grief over a wooden bridge and turned it into an annual celebration. Glencoe in the Scottish Highlands, the valley cut by the River Coe through some of the most dramatically austere mountain landscape in Europe, served as the exterior location for the Pixar film Brave, in the sense that it didn't serve as a filming location at all, because Brave is animated, but rather as the primary visual reference that the Pixar art team used when developing the film's landscape. The animators made multiple research trips to Glencoe, Dunatar Castle, and the surrounding highlands, photographing light conditions, rock textures, heather colors, and cloud formations over a period of years before the film's 2012 release. The result was an animated Scotland so precisely observed that Scottish tourism authorities reported a measurable increase in visitors citing Brave as a motivation. Glencoe, which is accessible via the A82 road and has a National Trust for Scotland Visitor Centre, looks exactly like the Scotland of Brave because Brave was made to look exactly like Glencoe. Visitors arriving expecting an animated landscape find instead a real one that is, if anything, more extreme and more beautiful than the film managed to capture. The mountains steeper, the weather more volatile, the silence more complete. The valley was also the site of the 1692 Glencoe Massacre, one of the most notorious events in Scottish history, which means it carries a weight of real historical grief entirely independent of its cinematic associations, a fact the film does not engage with, but that the landscape makes impossible to ignore.